Who said perfect houses have to cost the earth? Because I believe you can have your dream home in your dream location at a price you can afford, but you're gonna have to get your hands dirty. I'm Charlie Luxton, and this is Building the Dream. Today I'm in Buckinghamshire helping Kat and Jeff to build a new home on the old family farm. But they get off to a shaky start.
We've got our ground floor. How can halfway through the build the first floor not even be produced?
And things get really tough.
We're chucking on and we know that we've put ourselves in this pressure cooker.
I try to be my usual constructive self. Jack and Jill doors, come on. Jack and Jill doors in a toilet. Are you okay with those? But when Kat suddenly finds herself running the build alone...
Project managing at this stage is proving to be testing. And it's all moving very, very quickly.
Does she have what it takes to see it through?
Got a big... expensive house to finish, but I'm not quite sure where it's going at the moment.
Catherine and Jeff's site used to belong to Catherine's grandparents, and she spent her childhood playing in these fields. 10 years ago, she inherited the plot, and it has always been her dream to build a new home in this idyllic rural location. A decade on, she is finally about to realise that dream. The 180-acre farm in the tiny village of Lillingston Lovell has been in Kat's family for 4 generations. Come on. Today she helps to run the family business while also working as a personal trainer. When she married car salesman Jeff last year, she decided time was up for the 19th century building which she inherited from her grandparents. So this is where you were living until quite recently?
Yeah.
How does it feel looking at it now?
It's pretty emotional.
Quite sad.
I've been here for 10 years and but it was the right time. It's been in the pipeline for quite a long time.
Kat and Jeff are planning a contemporary take on a traditional farmhouse. It'll be timber framed and clad in reclaimed stone to be in keeping with the rest of the village. But inside there'll be modern flourishes like a mezzanine lounge on the first floor with floor-to-ceiling glazing, allowing them to take in the views over the farm. There'll be 4 bedrooms in total, 1 on the ground floor and a very large open-plan kitchen diner. Is this a long-term ambition? I mean, has this been something you've been cooking up for years?
It has been mine.
Yeah.
I've looked into it a few times over the years, but it just hasn't been the right time. And we're only recently married, so...
But is this something you've really been wanting to do for a long time?
I've been wanting to build a house for a long, long time. But I don't want to build a house on my own. I don't want to build a house for the commercial side of it. I want to build a house for the learning side and just something to create. I want to create something.
Now that they've started to tear down the old house, They'll be living in a motorhome on site until the new place is finished around Christmas. So you're looking at about 8 months.
Well,
We've been told that we've got the slab being laid at the end of this month, beginning of next month, and then the timber frame is booked to go up in the beginning of July. And then the builder thinks 5-6 months to do the rest of the work. So
you've got a single main contractor?
Yes.
Okay,
Yep.
that'll help. Even with a main contractor to smooth out the works, 8 months is still not a lot of time to build a house this size. Kat inherited the land, but thinks it's worth around 300 grand, and they've got a build budget of 400 grand. Do you have any idea what it might be worth when it's built?
I think in this area, for the size property, around 850, something like that.
That would mean by self-building they'd be saving £150,000 compared to buying something ready-made in the area. Not that buying was ever really on the cards. There are only 57 houses in Lillingston Lovell, and only 10 have sold in the last 10 years. And you can see why people want to stay here. It's a beautiful, peaceful spot, but it's only 10 miles from the centre of Milton Keynes with excellent transport links. Well, should we go and have a look at these plans?
Yeah,
come on then, let's go.
Their plans look pretty good, but one thing that immediately bothers me is the amount of glazing on the north side of the building, which also includes an expensive set of sliding folding doors off the living room. Now I understand that's because the views are to the north, lovely views, but your north-facing glazing you want to reduce as much as possible because it gets no solar gain. It never gets any heat from the sun, really, apart from the middle of summer in the evening, in the very early morning when, you might not really need it. So if you are going to have this much glazing on the north, it's got to be triple glazed. It's got to be really high-quality triple glazing, good thermal values. And the one thing that it also makes me think about is this first floor window arrangement here, because given that this is a north-facing room, north aspect, I don't think you're really going to open these like that. And the cost, therefore, of putting in these massive opening windows is high, and also you're going to stare at the frames of the opening sliders. I think they'd be much better off going with a single fixed pane with some small windows to the side which can be opened for ventilation. That's one massive sheet of glass that just gives you a much better view. And it's thermally more performing. So it's cheaper, thermally more performing, and I don't think you're going to open it. And you don't have to buy the balustrade. So you've probably saved yourself £3 grand there straight away.
I like the way you're talking.
It's what I do. Okay.
Sounds good.
So that went well. But I've just spotted a personal pet hate. A Jack and Jill toilet downstairs. So it has 2 doors, one from the guest bedroom and one from the main living area.
Yeah.
Ensuite downstairs, Jack and Jill doors. Come on. Jack and Jill doors in a toilet. Are you okay with those?
Initially, we had there was a downstairs loo next to the ensuite,
yes.
so that they were separate entities. but we just kind of thought for the amount of use that this is going to get from the guest bedroom, why on earth do we need to have two separate bathrooms next door to each other?
I get that. I can see why. I wouldn't do it. I would go back to the original plan. I'd split it, put in the downstairs loo. The Jack and Jill doors have to go. If they split the room, they can give staying guests a comfortable, dedicated ensuite with toilet, while giving users of the separate loo peace of mind that they're not about to be disturbed. I mean, this is a very generous house, and yet somehow you're nickel and diming on your main downstairs loo that all of your guests are going to use when they come round for, you know.
Yeah.
I think you just want to have them in a separate toilet.
Very good.
Is that painful?
No.
Not too much.
Well, good luck.
Thank you.
She may not be project managing,
Well, that's the conservatory gone.
but from the get-go, Kat has always been happy to get stuck in. As you might expect from someone who grew up on a farm, she's not afraid to get her hands dirty. And after finishing off the bungalow, she set about sorting the stone in a bid to reclaim as much as possible. But despite best endeavours, the build gets off to a faltering start due to the timber frame, and that Christmas deadline is starting to look unlikely.
It's been really frustrating because we've had so many delays and we're 2 months behind schedule from the frame company. But hopefully we're now on track, and so we're waiting for all of the kit to arrive, and then they can progress with the build.
One of the biggest delays has been with the frame design, in particular making sure the foundations, steel structure and frame all marry up. Today the steels are due to arrive, so Kat's looking forward to making good progress. But there's a problem.
I've been on site now for 2 hours, waiting for the scheduled delivery of the steel, which hasn't happened yet. I have a business that I've cancelled clients from this morning. I had to shift them around, and I've got horses to ride and farm jobs to do, and we haven't heard anything. It was meant to be an 8 a.m. delivery, and it's now 10 a.m. And so, it's just very frustrating, just waiting.
Finally, and a couple of hours late, the lorry squeezes down the lane to site.
But at least their reversing skills are a bit better than their time management.
And Kat can finally start to look forwards.
It's a relief to have the start of the structure arriving, and it's been a long day so far just waiting. But yeah, they're getting on now, and hopefully they'll start fitting it, and then the panels will arrive tomorrow.
Coming up, Kat discovers some serious problems.
This frame should be over the top of this blockwork.
And it looks like they're in for the long haul.
It's
Saga
like
continue.
another month in a motorhome.
the Buckinghamshire farm where Kat grew up, she and car salesman Jeff are trying to build a large family home. Kat inherited the land from her grandparents and doesn't want to live anywhere else. Nevertheless, by self-building, she could be saving 150 grand compared to buying in the area. They've not had the best of starts. A delay with the frame design has already put them 2 months behind schedule. By mid-September, the frame is going up. It's been manufactured off-site and assembled on-site by a specialist provider, not the principal contractor. After a week, the ground floor is complete, and today the panels for the first floor are supposed to arrive. But there's a disconcerting silence about the place.
Normally the builders are here from about 7:30 and the delivery is meant to be at 8 o'clock. But as you can see, nothing's actually happening on site yet. So not entirely sure what's happening at the moment, but I'm sure they'll be here soon.
Whether they know something we don't and we haven't been told, which is very likely.
With no word from the supplier or the assembly team, Kat tries to get to the bottom of things.
Hi, Peter. We're on site now, and we were expecting a delivery of panels for the first floor, and we haven't got anything on site. So at the last count, I was told that there was going to be a crane and the panels arriving by 8 o'clock this morning.
This doesn't look good.
So our contracts manager on the day of delivery has now told us that there's a delay in production of the first floor panels. He's coming back to me and hopefully we'll know soon what's going on, but this is the day of delivery where we're told that it's not arriving, and I don't know what timescale they're on. It's just unbelievable.
While the assembly team and the crane operator clearly got the message not to be here, Kat and Jeff seem to have taken the day off work for nothing. But while they're hanging around waiting for a call back, they start to notice problems.
So, this frame should be over the top of this blockwork.
Yeah, that piece of wood should be resting on top of that blockwork.
And there are plenty more examples. The substructure and the frame were supposed to be built from the same drawings and should match perfectly. They clearly don't, and that's cause for concern. But right now, Kat's just wondering where the rest of her house is.
Hi, John. I just missed your call. We've got our ground floor. How can halfway through the build the first floor not even be produced? Are we looking at a day or two or longer than that? Okay, all right. Okay, thanks, John. So I've just been told that we're now halfway through the installation of the house, and obviously the ground floor is complete, but the first floor have not even been manufactured. They were meant to be being delivered today, and at the moment they've got no idea. They say they've got a backlog, but when they start a house, I kind of would have thought that the whole lot would have been produced and sent out and there wouldn't be a delay. So I don't know how ours has...
4 months ago, design drawings were signed off.
So we're certainly not getting a first floor delivery today.
Looks
Saga
like
continues.
another month in a motorhome.
Fortunately, the panels arrived 10 days later, and by mid-October, they're underway with the roof. The confusion over the plans has led to a lot of remedial work. Fortunately, the timber frame company are picking up the bill, so Kat and Jeff don't expect to be out of pocket. And by mid-November, they've welcomed their principal contractor back on site, and they've really cracked on. The roof is nearly all tiled, and the stonework is well underway. While on the inside, the first fix electrics are in. The heating team are on site to fit the ducting for the mechanical ventilation heat recovery system, and the windows are even being installed.
We always had faith in our builders that they've got a good, big team, and they were just going to get the job done as quickly and efficiently as possible, which is exactly what's happening. And with the weather and shorter days, they still seem to be making huge progress, and we hope to be done in a matter of a couple of months, really.
It's great to see that they're back on top again, but the trauma of the past few months has definitely taken its toll.
We're chucking on, and we know that we've put ourselves in this pressure cooker. It's just a case of living with it and dealing with it for the time being, and knowing that the end is in sight.
Kat's certainly putting a brave face on it, but builds are testing times, and when I return a week later, it sounds like things may have come to a head. So no Jeff today?
No, Jeff's not here today. We've been experiencing some real stress with the build, as is always anticipated, but unfortunately at the moment we're working through some things, and hopefully things will work out for themselves, but I'm not quite sure where it's going at the moment.
You don't quite know what's going to happen?
I don't know, not regarding the relationship, but the house will continue. I'm obviously worried and concerned, and I've got a big expensive house to finish, but at the end of the day, the house has been my dream for so many years. It's been my home for so many years, and in the family, that there's no question about if or when the house is finished or how it can be finished. That's not an issue.
I mean, I'm sure it's a very difficult situation to be in, but it's good to hear that you're not sort of associating any negativity around other issues onto the building, because that can be a really bad spiral to get in, and it does happen that people kind of end up really hating the thing they're making.
No, I love it.
That's good. That's good. And I have to say, it is looking very good from out here. I can see why you're still in love with it.
One of the first things you notice is the stonework. It's nearly all recycled from the old cottage and it's looking great. Not only is it a sound financial move, but there's something reassuring about that continuity when generations of Kat's family have lived on this farm. But the traditional exterior belies a very contemporary layout inside, exemplified by the double-height family kitchen area.
That is a pretty extraordinary space, isn't it?
It is, yeah. That was one of the fundamental things in the design, and just so excited about that.
This kind of little bit of structural gymnastics here is quite nice, isn't it?
Yeah, that's quite a feature.
The cantilevered living room on the first floor is going to connect very nicely to the living spaces below. To enhance that connection, Kat is planning a glass balustrade, but I think that might cause a problem.
Very simple glass all running around.
Yeah.
Have you thought about the layout in that room?
Yes.
And you don't end up looking at the back of the sofa through the glass.
I've got one huge, amazing corner sofa.
That goes the other way.
That will go along the back and along the side.
So my concern with that is that if I look up here through that glass balustrade, do I just stare at the back of a sofa?
That's a good point, but I think that the sofa can be in far enough.
I think this warrants a closer look.
Okay. I can see why you put the sitting room up here.
Yeah, this is my favourite space, and
Really like it. But standing in here, going back to that sofa issue, if you think that those corner sofas are big, aren't they?
yes.
I have a feeling you'll have to go almost hard up against your balustrade to get the sort of space. And I have a feeling that you might end up just staring at the back of a sofa from downstairs. So one of the things you could think about doing is making a timber stud wall to about that height, and then glass just at the top.
Okay. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Because actually, if you think about that angle, then when you're sat down in the sofa, you can look down and see, but you don't just stare at the back of a sofa.
I'm sure Kat will crack this conundrum, and it will be worth it, as this is going to be one of the home's standout features. When I first saw their plans, I thought that having a set of sliding folding doors up here on the north side away from the sun wasn't a great idea. I'm glad Kat's opted for something more simple.
So it's a big squarish panel in the middle and then two smaller slit panels on either side.
Yes.
That's a good move. You just don't want anything in that view, do you? You want it uninterrupted.
Yeah, that's exactly what it's going to be.
So you've never really seen this view?
No, not as amazing as it is from this height, and that's exactly how I felt. You can see all you can see going out that direction is what's our farmland. It's all nice pasture. The
You can
cows
see
are
your
out there.
cows, can't you?
Yeah, the cows are out there. Come springtime, and the horses. So it's just a really beautiful view.
When I first met Kat back in May, she was talking about an 8-month schedule. Clearly lots hasn't gone to plan, and there's still plenty up in the air, but she is making good progress. When do you think you will be in?
We're still hoping to be in by the end of January.
So you think the house will be done in a couple of months?
Yes.
I think 3.
Okay. Our builders were still adamant that they wanted to get close to Christmas.
Really?
But, yeah, they've got projects lined up and they want to be out of here by the end of January.
To be fair, from what I can see, they've got a lot of builders on site, so just maybe it can be done in 2 months.
What about your budget? When we first talked, you wanted to spend... Well, the site had a nominal value of 300,000.
Yes.
And you were hoping to get it built for around 400,000. What have you spent to date?
Just under 230,000.
Okay, so you've still got 170,000
Yes.
to plough through, and that's quite a lot, isn't it, in 2 months?
It is, yeah.
That's going some.
So that's why I'm quietly hoping that 170,000 in 2 months.
You can't spend it that quickly. So from what I've seen, it looks very nice, and I'm looking forward to when you start plastering out those inside spaces, because that's very unusual to have such incredible cavernous spaces and the way they all interlink. I think it will be a very interesting house when it's done.
On budget and not far behind schedule, it sounds like things have been well run so far. But come the new year, Kat and Jeff have decided to divorce, and Kat's had to make the tough decision to put the build on hold until she can get everything worked out. Today she's on site going over a few final details with her builder.
So plasters hopefully will be next week. Once they've done that, then it'll all close down until you're all ready for us to start again. And then we can carry on with the second fixing of the whole building and the finishing touches and that, bathrooms and stuff like that.
The build has slowed in recent weeks, but there's probably only 2 months' work left. Kat doesn't know when she'll be able to get it going again, but is trying to see the positives.
Awful as the situation is, this is still my absolute priority and has been my dream for so long. And the builders have all been as accommodating as possible, which is all that I can ask, really. And they're fantastic guys in each area that has been done. So I just hope that when things are ready, that they'll be able to get back on site as quickly as possible.
Coming up, after a very long wait, Kat takes up the reins.
It is absolutely amazing to be back on site, even if it is painting.
And I encourage her to be bold.
This becomes quite a serious, proper, hardcore working kitchen, whereas this feels a little bit polite.
In the Buckinghamshire village of Lillingston Lovell, farmer and fitness coach Cat Dancer is trying to build a contemporary farmhouse on the land where she grew up. It's been 9 months since Cat decided to put the build on hold while her divorce went through. But now that's behind her, back on site, things are moving forward again. It's September, and for the first time this year, someone is working on the house. Cat, who's cracking on with the painting.
It is absolutely amazing to be back on site. It's been a really tough, 9 months now, and everything's pretty much resolved and able to move on. So it's really positive and very exciting to be back on site, even if it is painting.
As Cat wanted to make a start and not to wait for her builders to be free, she's decided to take over the reins as project manager. So from now on, she'll be coordinating all the trades and suppliers herself and getting stuck in wherever possible.
And I want to do as much as I can now, off my own back, jobs that I can do, and hopefully get a few friends involved as well, moving forward. So, a few months' time, hopefully this will be my new home. The original hope was to be in December 14, but now it will be December 15. I will be cooking my Christmas lunch in this house.
Given that she's doing more of it herself, 2 months is an ambitious target. But friends and family are turning out in force to make short work of the paintwork.
Jane, thank you, help. Doing a great job. There's my dad doing the vaulted ceilings.
Cat's new place may have a traditional exterior, but the interior is going to be modern. To inspire those all-important finishing touches, she's visiting this self-build in Hampshire, which manages that balancing act very well. In 2005, Jennifer Nash packed in her job to project manage the build. Cat's visited once before and has now come back for a second look.
Hi Cat, welcome.
Hi, Jennifer.
Come on in.
Lovely to see you.
Come on in. Oh, and you, dog. Good boy. Let's go through to the kitchen and I'll make you a cup of tea. It's lovely to see you again.
It's a 5-bedroom oak frame build, which, like Cat's place, uses double height spaces and a lot of glazing to create a contemporary interior. For King Cook Cat, the open plan kitchen diner with its double height lounge area is a real highlight.
I'm having a few alternative thoughts on colours and looks on it, so it's great to actually see the gloss in situ. And the floor just looks amazing, and you've continued it outside, haven't you? I remember you saying something, you've sourced everything from one place.
I did, Anne, at one time to get the discounts. It's actually an outdoor floor slab that I've brought indoors rather than the other way round because I wanted it the same, and there's not many that will be suitable for the outdoors. It's a little bit thick for my underfloor heating, but it holds the heat really well, so I've learnt to manage that. very slow to respond, so it's, if you want it just boosted, it's not very quick and it doesn't cool down. But what I do is just have it set at quite a low level, so the house is always at an ambient, say 17, and then if there's any cold, that wood burner changes the house temperature in a matter of, you know, and half an hour really. So I use that to balance it out.
Another advantage of underfloor heating is that you don't need radiators, so you can put your furniture wherever you like. In the neighbouring TV room, the ceiling's lower, and Jenny's gone for a cosier feel.
It's quite interesting that it does feel snug, but you haven't got any curtains.
No. No, the house isn't overlooked, and I personally love sitting here and looking outside. I think the way it changed for me is when I brought the furniture in more, because I've always had smaller houses, and you had to have the furniture on the outside of the walls to make enough room. But here, you've actually got a little bit of luxury, but you get that nice little seating area in there. So, yeah, it's worked out quite well.
It really works. It's lovely.
Yes, and upstairs here there's no curtains either, so you learn to sleep with natural light, which I quite like. But let's go upstairs.
The open tread stair with its glass balustrade and chrome handrail is similar to what Kat's got in mind. And upstairs, Jenny's got 4 good-sized guest bedrooms and a master bedroom suite.
I really like your cupboards that are in
the little pockets. Where that's a stud wall through to the ensuite, you've got the depth of a normal stud wall to use. I've done similar in the showers to put your shampoos in, just to use that little space to avoid having shelves sticking out.
Dividing the bedroom from the ensuite, Jenny's gone for a simple partition wall, so that the feeling you get is one of huge, luxurious space drifting up to the rafters.
So, round here, Kat, I don't know if you remember the ensuite.
Yeah, I remember this amazing inset mirror, and
Thanks. It's worked well, and again, it's all for me about bouncing the light around, so just to make everything as bright as possible. So, and the mirror being inset in the tiles means I saved the cost of the tiles behind it. There aren't any, and then that was just simple mirror glass and stuck on. So that's worked really well, and it almost doubles the width, doesn't it?
yeah. Thank you so much for letting me come and have another look round. It's been great to kind of get a few new ideas and
You're welcome.
solidify some ideas as well.
Yeah, it's good to see you enjoying it. It's a nice thing, and you'll be sat in the garden with a gin and tonic next spring, and it'll just be lovely, I'm sure. So well done you.
Thank you.
There are plenty of ideas at Jennifer's house that have given Kat food for thought, and it should really help with her interior fit-out.
I think it instilled a bit of confidence, really. Seeing a completed project with all that glass and the light, bright spaces that she'd created.
You know, on some levels, your houses are quite similar. There's a lot of glass in this. There's a real sort of mixture of a contemporary sort of use of glass and of quite open plan spaces, yet wrapped up in quite a traditional exterior, which is what's going on with yours.
A key feature of Jennifer's place was the staircase. Kat's going for something similar, although hers is going to wrap around a large pier in the centre of the building.
Because I wonder whether, if you're going to go down this route, whether it'd be quite nice to do this in oak. some oak floorboards. And then equally you could then clad the whole of the central stair pier, if you like, in oak. And I think then it will become like a sort of a piece of giant furniture in the space. And what is interesting about that space, but also a slight challenge, is the scale of it. It's big, you know, and so I think you need some big gestures in it to help populate it and give it some visual interest. I don't think it will feel cavernous, but it could, and I think you have to be sort of aware of that at this stage.
You can pick up oak boards for around £30 a square metre, so this is an affordable way of turning the central pier into a defining feature. When it comes to her kitchen, Kat's already got most of it on order, but looking at her plans, I think she could do with taking a leaf out of Jennifer's book.
I just wonder whether all of this high-level cabinetry over the top of the cooker is necessary or what you want, because what I quite like about Jennifer's kitchen is that there is no high-level cabinets around the cooking area.
I'd like to see this space opened up a bit. If Kat gets rid of the high cupboards, boxes in the extractor and puts shelves either side, then she'll have a cooking space that feels a bit more farmhouse, a bit less overbearing.
Then you can put some lovely sort of objects, vases, oil, cooking, sugar, salt, pepper, whatever you need. Maybe even hang a couple of nice pans on the underside of it, and then tile beneath that. So suddenly this becomes quite a serious cooking. It feels a bit almost industrial, not catering, but just sort of a proper hardcore working kitchen. Whereas this feels a little bit polite. Good luck. Good luck. Good luck.
By the start of October, and thanks to an army of friends armed with paint pots and rollers, the decorating is nearly finished, and Kat's painting marathon is on the final straight.
I'm going to owe a lot of favours by the end of this. People have been really kind and really supportive now that the house is cracking on again. It's been lovely to have the help, and it just sped the process up hugely.
Kat is definitely making this place her own with some very bold colour choices. A complete departure from the natural palette that she had in mind when she started the project.
It's nice to have that differentiation and separation from the last year and to go forward with some new ideas. There was one mistake in that the sitting room did start off as what was meant to be a primrose colour and turned out to be more of an acid yellow, which wasn't entirely appropriate for a sitting room. So that's changed now back to a more neutral colour. You learn by your mistakes, and it's only paint, thankfully.
Having taken over the project management, it's now looking like Kat's in it for the duration, as her original builders won't be available for another 6 months. From now on, she's got to book all the trades herself.
Project managing at this stage is proving to be testing. So dealing with lots of different contractors, tying in their times and getting people on site. but I'm sure everyone who's done this knows that I'm just experiencing it for the first time properly. Right now I've got the carpenters and joiners, the plumbers, the electricians, and all kinds of other little bits and pieces to sort out at the same time. So it's all moving very, very quickly.
Still to come, Kat's running out of steam.
We say that the last 10% takes 90% of the effort, and it's so true.
But will the finished place be worth it? Hello, Kat.
Hello.
It's all finished. In Buckinghamshire, it's been 2 years since Kat set out to build a new home on the old family farm. Since then, nothing has gone as expected. But after battling through some really tough times on her own, she's finally got this project up and running again and is single-handedly project managing the final stages. It's mid-October, and with Kat keen to be moved in for Christmas, she has flooded the site with trades. Today she's got electricians working on the second fix, she's got plumbers fitting the bathrooms, joiners working on the stairs, and the laminate flooring is going down.
Really excited today because it is all coming together and it's working, having so many trades on site at the same time, so the job's just getting done very quickly.
In the lounge area, Kat's feature wall has just been finished.
So excited about the wallpaper going up. So that's one of my 3 main features in the house. Very happy, and it creates a vibrant wall in there, and travel's kind of my thing. So it's definitely worth the effort of having done it.
Unfortunately, it's thrown up a dilemma with the second fix electrics.
So I've got 4 sockets to go on the map. Unfortunately, one is right smack in the middle of Australia.
Whoa, 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 that's where I grew up. I'm not very happy about you defacing Australia.
I'm not very happy about defacing Australia, but needs must, and I can't move the sockets.
I guess that's the mark of a confident project manager in full flow. Entire continents sacrificed to the greater good. 1 month later, the porch is being finished off. The flooring is still going down. And while there's a team on site venting the wood burner, poor Kat is finding it tough.
Caulking seems to be going on forever. I thought glossing the skirtings was bad enough, but yeah, 200 metres of skirting and about 150 metres of architraves, and it's never ending.
Sealing all the skirting boards, architraves and housing may not be the most fun, but it's a sure sign that Kat's in the final straight, and boy is she feeling it.
This last push has been really stressful. It's they say that the last 10% takes 90% of the effort, and it's so true. So it's tough. It's I know that the end result is there and is in sight, but I'm exhausted and stressed, but also obviously very lucky to have had the opportunity to do this project, and it will be finished very soon.
The following April, the paint has dried, the sawdust has settled, and I'm heading back to Lillingston Lovell to have a look at Kat's new home.
Well, spring is definitely here. There's lambs in the field, there's calves over there. It feels like a perfect rural idyll, and you can see that reflected in the inspiration in the buildings, the barn influence there with these upper doorways and their Juliet balconies. And I have to say, it does feel incredibly finished and manicured. Look, the garden is all planted, the lawn's in, the sap is rising, and it feels like a new beginning.
Kat's dream has always been about renewal and continuation. As the fourth generation to live on the farm, she wanted to build a home that was forward-looking and confident, but which didn't lose the memory of its agricultural roots. And I can't wait to see how she's gone about it.
Hello, Kat.
Hello.
It's all finished.
It is.
Very nice to see you. Hello,
Come in and
dog.
have a
How are
look.
you? Wow, that picture's up.
Yeah.
Well done.
It's all
You've been working hard.
It's been a busy few months.
Should we have a quick look around?
Yeah.
Ah, so this is the big cathedral-like space that you were creating.
Yeah, we get a good reaction when people walk in.
And I mean, is it nice to live in? Is it nice to have that sense of space?
It's lovely. It does seem huge in one sense, but equally it just feels really cosy and home-like in another.
Because it's super warm, isn't it? I mean, massive amounts of insulation.
Yeah, and the air source heat pump is hardly running. This is the sun streaming in and the house retaining the heat. So it's very efficient, which is a nice bonus.
Slightly different from the old cottage that you struggled to keep warm.
I think probably polar opposite.
Yeah, space, warm, light.
Yeah.
When I first met Kat, I encouraged her to triple glaze the north side of the building. She's done that, and along with the mechanical ventilation heat recovery, it's making for a very cosy home. But it's no farmer's cottage. The mezzanine living room and the double height space leave you in no doubt about that. And I'm pleased to see that from below, you're not left looking at the back of a sofa after all.
So getting the kitchen right and kind of creating this contemporary farmhouse heart was really important to you, wasn't it? And you've certainly done that. It's a very handsome cooker you've got there.
Yeah, this was definitely one of the luxuries, and so pleased with it. And
but it's a reinterpretation of it, isn't it? It's got a contemporary feel, but it's also still got that sense of something more traditional.
Yeah, it's become a lot more contemporary, colour-wise anyway, which is lovely. I'm really pleased with that. It's been quite a departure from the previous design ideas that have.
So where you started?
Yeah, they've evolved significantly, and I've had quite a lot of input from my new man.
There's a new man.
There is, yeah.
Okay, so you started with one sense of ideas and kind of finished with another that sort of have reflected the journey of your life as well as the building of the house.
So it's lovely that there's been input from him, and we've kind of come to the boldness of the colours to bring things together and make it a more modern.
I suppose the benefit of putting some of the living space upstairs is that you've got rooms downstairs, haven't you? You've got a gym there, and
Yep.
this was a downstairs
Bedroom with ensuite.
Now, this was originally going to have a Jack and Jill bathroom, wasn't it?
Yeah, took your advice on that one and got rid of that idea.
Good idea. Jack and Jill
we've got-
bathrooms, devils spawn, terrible things.
Well, very pleased, done the separate bathrooms, and now this is a self-contained bedroom and bathroom that is going to be for B&B. So yeah,
To get a B&B running out of this lovely home, sort of come and stay, hang out with the cows and the sheep.
Absolutely, yeah. Who wouldn't want to do that? And it's a prime location with Silverstone and Milton Keynes in London, really not very far away. There's a lot of houses in the village already that do B&B, so it's a bit of a no-brainer.
The B&B season should also dovetail nicely with the farm, keeping Kat busy all year round. And for guests, the bedroom and downstairs lounge are nicely separated from Kat's living space upstairs. So more of your colour.
Yeah, it's been great to get the strong colours in.
So bedroom, bathroom,
Yeah,
master bedroom.
yes.
With a great view through the house. I always like that window
Yeah.
in a house. It makes it much more interesting. And then it's your master bedroom suite.
Yeah.
Massive ceiling heights again, isn't there? And you've obviously got your own ensuite.
Yeah, there's a nice big ensuite in there. Yeah.
But it's nice, isn't it? The view this way. I mean, you've got great views everywhere from this house. Every direction.
Yeah, very lucky.
The room's working well, and the spacious spare bedrooms and generous family bathroom mean any visitors will also be very comfortable. And then, of course, there's the view from the mezzanine living room. In many ways, this is the crowning glory, isn't it? This is what one of the rooms you were most excited about.
Yeah, this is what I designed the house around, and it's just phenomenal. I look out there and you can't help but smile.
Smiling. Lovely. Lovely. And you know what? I really like the fact that it's just that massive square of glass.
Yeah.
It really sort of connects you to that view in a kind of very strong way, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Every build should have its moment. An event which defines the home and keeps you going through the tough times. Kat's had plenty of those, but being able to look out over the fields where she grew up in a home she's built herself is surely what it's all been about. And given that so many delays were out of her control, Kat's managed her schedule well. But what about the budget? The plot had a value of sort of 300,000, although it was obviously a family. And your original build budget was 400,000.
Yeah.
What did you end up spending?
Pretty much that.
Really?
Yeah. A little bit extra just on soft furnishings, but it really wasn't far off, within a few thousand.
Which, given the scale of the house and the technology that you put in, air source, and MVHR, triple glazing, I think that's That's pretty amazing. Do you know what it's worth?
Yes. I've had a few valuations, and the average has come out at about 950.
950,000. That's all right now.
Yeah.
So actually you've made, it's got £250,000 by building this. Well, I think you've worked it. I think you've worked really hard. And I know it's been a really tough road, but I think you're hugely respectful of the kind of resilience and the determination that you've shown, and you haven't been phased by it, and you've really grabbed the bull by the horns, and so I think for that I am a huge amount of respect. And I think what you've created is a lovely kind of continuation of that story around the farm and around your life here, and I think that is fantastic.
Yeah, and I have absolutely no plans on going anywhere, so this is it. This is my forever home.
Next time I help to build a large family home for a very fiery couple.
That is a stupid argument, because...
No, it's irrelevant. You can't argue with somebody that's telling you the facts.
They've got their own way of doing things.
The environmentalist in me is now screaming and weeping.
But if they can keep it friendly...
It's far better to be optimistic, surely.
You live in your own little dream world and you call yourself optimistic. We're calling you unrealistic.
Then they could be about to build a home on a spectacular scale.
Look at the island. I mean, that is literally the size of an island.
If you're building the dream and would like to take part in the next series, visit channel4.com/take part for more information.
The fit that won't stop is giving major concern in 24 hours in A&E, beginning tonight at 11:05 here on More 4. Next, though, an environmentalist whose home needs saving. Are the obsessive-compulsive cleaners the answer?